The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Big day for the Jets. Not one, not two, but three head coaching candidates will speak with the Jet brass for the first time. We'll talk about that and much more when Jets beat reporter Nick Faria joins us in his weekly spot on the show. It is the Jake Asman Show on a Football Friday. Let's hit it and get it started. Man, our Jets are primed to win another offseason, baby. Jets green each and every day. Will the playoff drought finally end? Who's the coach? Who's the GM? Who's the quarterback? At least we have Garrett Wilson. We have Breece Hall. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super chat, baby. Cut the line. We have Sauce Gardner. We have Quinn Williams. Prepare to be underdogs. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show. Here we go, baby. Welcome in, everyone. I said Football Friday there, and enjoy it. We only got a couple of these left in the year. My personal favorite weekend of the NFL season with the divisional round of the playoffs. So we'll talk about that, I'm sure, but we're talking Jets on the show right now. And joining us in his weekly segment is Jets beat reporter for Athlon Sports, Nick Faria. Nick, happy Faria Friday. You're going to be joining us now on Fridays in the offseason.
Faria Fridays, Football Fridays, it works for me. It's a great time to be back on.
So we got a lot to get into. Let's start with the news of the day. It was reported, I believe, first by CBS Sports, that the Jets are going to interview Brian Flores, Josh McCown, and Jeff Hafley today. These will be virtual interviews because you can't meet with any coaching candidate in person till Monday. Flores feels like a really intriguing candidate given his experience. McCown is obviously a really intriguing candidate considering he played for the franchise and is considered a rising offensive-minded coaching star. And even Jeff Hafley, he does have previous head coaching experience. It's just at the college level, and he did a really good job in his first year as the Packers defensive coordinator. So your thoughts on these three candidates, Nick?
This is probably the strongest crew of interviews the Jets are going to have in a particular day, because you can look at each candidate and say, actually, he's very deserving of this upcoming role. Brian Flores, of course, his previous experience with Miami Dolphins, being able to do what he's been able to do and turn around defenses for both the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Minnesota Vikings. And then you have Josh McCown. And a lot of people, when they have concern about McCown, it comes down to his age and his lack of experience in a head coaching role. But very similar to Sean McVay, very similar to Kyle Shanahan, he is an up-and-coming person, an up-and-coming riser of coaching candidates. He may not get a head coaching job this year, but in a year, maybe 2 years, he is going to be the most sought-after candidate. So in the Jets' mind, this could be a situation where they get him early. They hold on to him and say, we got a top candidate, even if it's a year before he becomes the true top dog available. That's someone that you can definitely go after. And Hafley, a lot of people were surprised by him when he was interviewed for this role. When it was announced that it would be scheduled to interview for this role. But his work, both at Boston College and with the Green Bay Packers, pretty awesome, pretty spectacular when you consider the overall pieces he had to work with. In Green Bay, of course, you look at the defense, they didn't have Jair Alexander. They didn't have many other pieces along the defense in that playoff game against Philadelphia, and they took it to the Eagles. I mean, the Packers defense was not the reason they lost that game. They gave up, I believe it was 6 points off of turnovers. They were fantastic all game. They stymied the rushing attack for the most part. They completely took away Philadelphia's passing attack. And that's one of the best offenses in football. He clearly has the respect of his players, which is obviously something you need as a head coach. He's won at the college level, even though that doesn't really translate to the NFL moving forward. So he's an intriguing candidate. Not going to say that he's going to be a top candidate, but certainly an intriguing candidate moving forward. But like I said, all three names, very, very solid candidates, very smart, very well-respected in NFL circles.
Your thoughts as we kind of move forward now in this search process on the 15 completed general manager interviews. Are you expecting any announcements for a second round? What's your take on the timeline with the GM search?
Yeah, my expectation is you're going to start seeing second round interviews next week, maybe the week after. They're going to try to start moving forward in this process. And I think the other piece of this equation that we also have to remember is that with candidates, particularly on the head coaching side, you can't hire them until the season ends. You can agree to a deal. You can have sort of light agreements with certain candidates for deals, whether it's head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, but you can't hire anyone. The only one you can hire is a general manager. So you can be patient in this process because you're looking to hire both. You want to be able to keep everyone on the same page. So they're allowed to be patient in this situation. I know there are some analysts that have gone out there and sort of criticized the Jets for having this wide open a search. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. They've had 14 years of poorly run football, whether it's in the front office, whether it's in the coaching ranks, whether it's in the player personnel department, it doesn't matter. It hasn't been good for 14 years. And the Johnson family has been at the front of all of it. And if they have been that bad for this long, then it makes perfect sense for them to leave no stone unturned. Interview as many candidates as you possibly can. And then also at the same time, taking information to know what kind of path do I want this organization to go down. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think it's pretty much the Jets showing and realizing that what they have done, their processes before, have not worked. And if that's the case, you're doing everything in your power to make that change.
I personally like the list of GM candidates better than the coach candidates. I think the GM list is strong. If they hire someone that's a first-timer, it feels like some of the top guys that were out there they've spoken to. They hire people with previous experience. They spoke to Thomas Dimitroff. They spoke with Grigson. They spoke with Robinson. They've covered their bases, I think, and have casted a wide net. I have a theory that they're going to end up hiring two guys to this front office, similar to what the Panthers did, Nick, a year ago. Do you think that's a possibility given the just sheer volume of candidates they've spoken to?
Certainly a possibility. This also could be something where the 33rd team is trying to get candidate names available and just saying, hey, we run wide searches. These guys are going to be well respected. We're trying to get in front of some of these interviews as well for other candidates and other teams who may ask for our services moving forward. So there's a lot of different avenues you can go down here of why 15 candidates have been interviewed and why 30 total have been interviewed to this point. But by and large, I think just keeping it at the basic, the Jets haven't been good for a long time. They need someone to come in and just transform the franchise from the ground up. And in order to do that, you need to keep and cast a wide net of candidates who you think could do the job well.
We're talking with Jets beat reporter Nick Faria, covers the team now for 2 full seasons and 2 full seasons of hell for the Jet fan base. Have you thought about you potentially being part of the issues the Jets have had, Nick?
Listen, I think everyone's a part of it. Me, myself, the fan base, Jake, you as well. Everyone's a part of it. Everyone's a problem. It's just negativity all the way through. Everyone's a part of the issue when it comes to the Jets.
Aaron Rodgers is a part of all this. He spoke yesterday for the first time since the Jet season ended. He was a guest on the McAfee show. Here's a short clip of Rodgers talking about his future with the Jets.
Well, the season is not technically over. I always feel like the season's over once the Super Bowl is over. And then, kind of everything resets. Everybody's 0-0 again, and there's a chance for everybody to reset. Now, there's obviously moving pieces in New York. There's been a number of job interviews for GM and for head coach. There's even, more names, being released every day that the team is looking at. But I've had limited communication with them.
So Rodgers went on to say in the conversation that he had productive talks with Woody Johnson one-on-one. He had a productive meeting with Christopher Johnson and Jaime Elhai, the team president, as well. To me, he sounded like a guy that very much could still play. I really didn't listen to his comments and feel like that's a guy that's going to be retired. I do like that Woody has said publicly, at least to Brian Costello in that interview, that the next regime will decide on Aaron Rodgers. Your thoughts on what Aaron had to say yesterday, Nick?
Yeah, kind of open the door for potential return, whoever gets hired in those situations. And the one thing that I look at, and I think will determine whether Rodgers returns or not as a starting quarterback, is who ends up being hired as the head coach. If they go with an offensive-minded coach, whether it's Josh McCown, whether it's Joe Brady, who they have an interview scheduled later on in this process, I'm more inclined for offensive-minded coaches to want to bring in their own quarterback, their own solution to the problem. So I think it's more likely than not that they would move on from Rodgers. If it's a defensive coordinator like Aaron Glenn, a defensive background kind of guy, I think it's more likely that Rodgers returns simply because they're going to come in with the task to win now. Offensive-minded guys, it's about developing the quarterback. It's about putting in the right offensive system in place. And if you were to draft a quarterback, you want to give them time in order to develop that guy. If it's a defensive-minded guy, though, they're going to want to win right away. That's going to be the expectation. And the best quarterback, as we've said before, the best quarterback available to do that moving forward, at least right now, is still probably Aaron Rodgers on that list. There's going to be veterans that you maybe could sign for cheap. Maybe you throw Tyrod Taylor out there. But as solid as a person as Tyrod Taylor is, he doesn't have Aaron Rodgers' talent. And if it's a defensive guy, if it's Aaron Glenn in the future, I think it's more likely than not that Aaron Rodgers would be welcoming and the Jets would be welcoming a return together.
That's interesting. You think Glenn would want Rodgers as the quarterback?
I think the expectation would be they need to win now. And I think that's the issue, whether it's Flores, whether it's Glenn. If you're a defensive-minded guy, you're not going to be able to go in and say, I can draft a quarterback and still get that same patience, because you're going to have to hire an offensive-minded coach. You're going to have to hire an offensive coordinator who knows how to develop and call those particular plays. You're not going to get the benefit of the doubt if it doesn't work in 2 years, because if it doesn't work in 2 years, but the quarterback plays well, then you're probably going to get shafted for your play caller on offense. So it's more likely than not to me that defensive-minded guys, they need the quarterback right away. Because if they don't, they could go the way of Vic Fangio, who had bright spots in Denver, but never got the quarterback right, and he was fired and replaced with different coaches as well. So to me, if you're a defensive guy, you need to win immediately. That's the only possible way that this process can succeed.
See, I thought it would be if you're an experienced coach who feels like you can handle everything that comes with Aaron Rodgers still being in the building and the attention he gets and everything that just comes with him being one of the greatest players ever, that you'd want Rodgers. And maybe a first-year coach who knows he has some leeway would potentially say, look, I'm not getting fired after 1 year. Let me establish the culture in year one. I'll get my quarterback in year two. That's interesting that you have that perspective.
That's exactly what happened with Gerard Mayo. And, I mean, seriously, he gets hired and drafts a quarterback. The quarterback shows signs of brightness. He shows that he can be a competent signal caller, but the team around him doesn't work out. There wasn't enough talent. There were a lot of issues outside of just Gerard Mayo that struggled.
Real quick, the difference is the Pats knew they were going to be in position to get a quarterback in a loaded quarterback class a year ago. The Jets are picking 7th in a 2-man quarterback class, and neither will be there at 7.
And the other point to this is if you don't have the right offensive people in there, just in general, you're not going to be able to do that. So if Aaron Glenn were to be hired and they were to draft a quarterback, and in 2 years they're hovering around 8-9, 9-8, they haven't made the playoffs, but they're competitive and the quarterback looks really good, the Johnsons could sit there and say, well, we need offense. We need the guy to maximize our quarterback. A defensive-minded head coach isn't going to be able to do that. Let's hire somebody else. To me, it's all about winning immediately. If Aaron Glenn comes in and Aaron Rodgers is the starting quarterback and they win 10, 11 games, he is now going to have full autonomy to take the quarterback that he wants moving forward for the future. That's the issue. You're going to need to win immediately year one for the defensive guy.
If you're watching this live right now, please click the like button and make sure that you subscribe to my channel. We are close to 41,000 subscribers. So if you're a true Asmaniac, please click that subscribe button and help us reach our goal. To celebrate that and all the gifted memberships, we have a signed Joe Klecko jersey we will be raffling away next week. It is authenticated. It is ready to roll. That and a signed Garrett Wilson helmet will be the top 2 prizes. And guess what? I'm adding another prize. You ready for this, Nick? I am adding another Joe Willie Namath replica championship ring.
Where are you getting this stuff?
Let me tell you something, Nick. You got to spend money to make money, and the Asmaniacs support me. I want to pay it forward back to them. So I'm putting on this championship bling right here. It will be yours if you win. Those are the top 3 prizes for our raffle, which will be next week. $20 super chat gets you 5 raffle tickets. $50 gets you 10, and then obviously every membership you gift gets you that amount of raffle tickets. There's a comment here from No Holmes, or Yo Holmes, I should say, that I want to read to you because I completely disagree with him. I think you will too. He says, no, the expectation is not win now. It's a full rebuild. I'm in the middle of you two. I don't think it's win at all costs next year. I think you want to win and try and compete, but I don't think you're making every move to go all in like they have been the last 2 years with a first-year GM and first-year coach. But it's also not a full rebuild because there's existing talent on this team. They won 5 games this year, but they had the lead in the fourth quarter in 7 of them. Like they're not your typical 5-12 team when you look at the point differerential and all that goes into it.
No, but I also think it comes down to who the head coach is. If they hire Brian Flores isn't coming in here to go 9-8 and miss the playoffs. He's coming in here to win, end this playoff drought, and move forward. That's kind of why I say it depends on the kind of style they hire. If it's an offensive-minded guy who wants to bring in a quarterback, they're going to be given some leeway to develop their signal caller. If it's somebody else who has the expectation that they're going to win and win immediately, then obviously that changes. But this isn't going to be a full rebuild. They've got talent on the roster. They're going to have enough cap space to re-sign that young talent and also be contenders in free agency. So there's plenty of room here for the Jets to compete next season. It's just a matter of who the head coach ends up being.
Hit the like button, comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. We're talking with Jets beat reporter Nick Faria about the state of the Jets, given the fact that today they're going to interview, if you missed it at the top, Brian Flores, Josh McCown, and Jeff Hafley. Where I'm at right now, Nick, I either want Flores or Aaron Glenn to be the head coach. I recognize that there are other offensive coaches out there, but they haven't spoken to them. So based off who they've spoken to, I can't say Liam Cohen. I can't say this guy or that guy when it hasn't happened yet. Joe Brady intrigues me, but he's 36. Is he ready to take on that type of leadership role? I don't know. He's an intriguing candidate, though. Same thing with McCown. Lack of experience, but we know about his career, and he was essentially a player coach at the end anyway. But to me, if you go the experience route, Flores is the top candidate because they, for whatever reason, have not spoken to McCarthy. Or they go with the inexperienced guy. Glenn, to me, has the most complete resume, pending him having a real plan for his offensive coaching staff.
Yeah, the issue with Glenn is going to be, actually the issue with Glenn and Flores is going to be who's going to be your offensive staff. These are defensive-minded guys. The most important hire after that is going to be who's running the offense. What system are you going to want to run? That's going to be a big question mark both are going to have to answer. Jake, we've had this debate before. I'm always the kind of person that would want a young offensive-minded individual. I look at Joe Brady. I see 35, 36 years old. I look at the next Sean McVay. I see a guy that's developed quarterbacks. He's won at both the college and pro level. Someone that really, really intrigues me as an up-and-coming mind. And Josh McCown, last week I sat there and said, it's growing on me. The idea of Josh McCown as a head coach is growing on me for the Jets. He understands the market, so he's not going to be overwhelmed like Robert Saleh was at times. He understands how to produce offenses. He's worked with quarterbacks and has been successful with quarterbacks. That's intriguing. That looks to me like, yeah, he doesn't know how to call. He hasn't called plays before. He hasn't had that experience, but he knows how to do it as an NFL quarterback, as someone who's been in the NFL huddle before. That's an intriguing option to me. I had a recent tier list right now, an article that went up earlier this week. I still have Joe Brady number 1. Reasons that's the exact same as before. I like the offensive-minded individuals later. Aaron Glenn's answer a couple of days ago about him not being a defensive coach, to me, was a massive, massive selling point moving forward. That's probably one of the better answers you're going to get for a head coaching candidate in this entire cycle who doesn't have the offensive background like Aaron Glenn has. And then, of course, you look at McCown. I like every one of these options. I think any hire the Jets make of those guys, they're going to come away with a strong candidate.
I love what Glenn said. I just don't want to be caught up in what he says at a press conference. Like,
Sure.
It will excite the fan base, but, you're an Eagles guy, Nick. And Nick Sirianni's infamous press conference when he was introduced was a disaster. He's one of the better coaches in the league.
Yeah.
So,
listen. But the other piece to it is, and this is kind of where fans and analysts have to understand what we're talking about here and understand that these things are going to change. A head coaching candidate who's been a head coach before, the Arthur Smiths of the world, the Brian Flores of the world, they will go out and say, I have learned from my previous mistakes. I have learned from the issues that plagued me when I was a head coach before. It's great that you say it. It doesn't mean it's going to happen again. It doesn't mean it's going to magically be fixed. So every answer that Aaron Glenn, Flores, Brady, any answer that these guys can give, you have to take with the proper context included that it is January and they are either preparing for a playoff game or sitting on the couch and waiting to see if they're going to get a head coaching job in the near future. All of that has to be taken to account. Still, you can at least understand a defensive-minded coach understands that he's going to have to win scoring points. That's an important demarcation here that you didn't really get with Saleh in his introductory press conference and when he was interviewing for this role.
I won't lie. I saw Jets media tweet out this yesterday. I did get a little excited. I am warming up to the idea of Aaron Glenn. I think I still have Flores slightly higher because of his previous experience, and especially if he could bring McCown with him, then I think he's the choice. But I did see this yesterday, Nick, and I won't lie. It might have moved a little bit. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I guess my question would be, you mentioned Flores and having McCown as the offensive coordinator. If that were the case and you wanted Josh to run the offense, then just make him the head coach. Give him that opportunity to learn by that metric and then hire an experienced defensive coordinator to run the defense and have them essentially just be the Vic Fangio of their team like he is in Philadelphia right now. If you're going to hire McCown as an OC, you're going to lose him in 2 years, maybe even in a single year. Because if he fixes the offense and they win 10 games, he's getting a head coaching job next year. Instead of having to go through that process, just make him the head coach and allow him to use that development for the offense in general.
I understand your point. I just don't feel like you could hire Josh McCown as a head coach when he has no coordinator experience yet. And I'm not saying you have to be a coordinator to then be a head coach,
Naturally.
right? Like Dan Campbell was a tight ends coach when he got promoted. But what I am saying is this, he only has coached just 2 years total. And I get it. He played for half the league as a player and was smart, a quarterback. We know all that. I just don't want to do that over Flores, who's proven to be a good coach. The guy did a good job in Miami, objectively speaking. He didn't end great, but not all of it was on him. He's going to end up being right about what Tua is as a player. He is also in a position where he's been under Tomlin for a year. Now KOC the last two. I'm sure he's taken a lot from those experiences and would do a better job this go around. So I wouldn't hire McCown over Flores. And if Flores can't get McCown as his OC, I would hope he has another plan in place for who his offensive play caller would be.
There's a lot of young offensive-minded play callers that can be really successful. So, and according to Flores, can he find a good offensive coordinator that understands how to call plays and develop players? I'm sure you're going to be able to find somebody. They're a dime a dozen. I just look at it and say, McCown, yes, he hasn't had a coordinator position. He hasn't been involved fully in the coaching rings for very long, but he knows how to do it. He knows how to do the job. It reminds me so much of when Andy Reid was hired by Philadelphia, because everyone looked at the Eagles hiring this quarterback coach for the Packers, never called plays before, never developed a team before, but he was always around. He knew how to do it. And when you have that, when you have a guy who can interview really well, put forth a plan that ownership approves of, and also have experience on an NFL field, that's something that is certainly intriguing enough to at least consider as a finalist.
Hit the like button if you're tuning in. If you haven't subscribed yet and you're one of the 427 people tuned in live right now, please click that subscribe button. Also, I want to announce this because I should have been saying this. For those of you who can't watch the show live but want in on the raffle, YouTube lets you super chat when the show is not even live as a comment. So if you super chat a comment and it's $20, I will make sure that I will acknowledge your comment and add you down to our raffle, which we'll be doing next week for the Klecko jersey that is autographed, the Garrett helmet that is autographed, and the Super Bowl III replica ring. So to all of you, which is most of the audience, who doesn't catch the show live and you want in on the raffle, $20 super chat gets you 5 entries, $50 super chat gets you 10, $100 super chat gets you 20 if you want in on the raffle. Just comment something in super chat form afterwards, and I'll make sure that we add you down for those of you who can't tune into the show live each and every day. All right, a lot to get into with Nick still. Please send in your comments and questions if you want us to acknowledge it on the air. Matthias with an 8-month Asmaniac super chat. He says Flores as head coach and McCown as OC would be a deadly fire experience. I'm still leaning towards more over Glenn, but I do like Glenn a lot. Your thoughts, Nick?
Yeah, it's the same thing that I said before. If you're going to do that and you're going to have McCown as the OC, just name him the head coach. Name him the head coach. There are plenty of other experienced defensive coordinators who can run the defense on their own, and you allow a young coordinator, a young quarterback coach turned head coach to be able to run the offense and develop a quarterback that you need. I think you're just trying to go step by step when you can skip a step literally in that process.
Ladies and gentlemen, comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. We will get to some calls with Nick as well. But today we are presented. Do you see the shirt I'm wearing? This fancy schmancy shirt. We're presented by Chubby's. Now, I'm going to play this because I don't want to show you guys my legs, a.k.a. my chubby shorts that I'm wearing. But these handsome men will. Check it out. Shout out to Chubbies. They're here to help you take on 2025 in style. 20% off Chubbies with code ASMAN20. It is linked in the description box. Chubbies has everything. I'm wearing one of their shirts right now, but their polos are awesome. Perfect blend of style and comfort. You can wear them on the golf course. You can wear them to work. You can wear them anywhere. And if you're someone who is a thigh exposure enthusiast, which I know some of you as maniacs are, Chubbies makes the best shorts, the best swim trunks on the planet. I'm telling you, check it out. 20% off, promo code ASMAN20. Check out their website. They have everything. They have pants that you could just wear on a lazy football Sunday. You name it, they have it. Gym gear, it's all for you with Chubby. Shout out to them for being today's sponsor. Chubbiesshorts.com/ASMAN20. The link is in the description box. All right, let's bring Nick right back on the show right now, and we'll mix in some calls with Jets beat reporter Nick Faria on the Gusbuster hotline. And first up today is June, the GM. What's up, June?
Hey, what's going on? Hey, Nick, listen, you said something that's kind of crazy to me. That means you have an inside source. Did you say that you think that Joe Brady is the next Sean McVay? Did you say that?
I think he can be. I mean, 35 years old. He's worked really, really well with some quarterbacks, has developed quarterbacks at the right rate. He's also shown that he can change an offensive philosophy if it's not working, something that few offensive play callers actually do. I look at Brady as the next up-and-coming McVay, in my opinion. I love what I've seen out of Buffalo, loved what I saw out of LSU. Obviously, he struggled a little bit when it came to where he was in Carolina, but everyone struggled in Carolina. So he was able to clearly shake off that struggle, went to Buffalo, and he's been extremely successful in the last couple of years.
Well, see, I find that strange because at LSU, correct me if I'm wrong, he was only the passing game coordinator and the wide receivers coach. Came to NFL Carolina, struggled, and then now in Buffalo, I think a lot of people can succeed with Josh Allen, being that Josh Allen, he makes plays with his legs. He's an improviser, But that's a strong take because I like Aaron Glenn. I think that Aaron Glenn is a Jedi heart. Loved him since Texas A&M way back. I think that if we don't hire him, I think we're gonna get it wrong. I don't like Flores. I think that Flores is volatile. I don't think he has the self-control to maintain the media down here. And I think he's overrated as a coach, to be totally honest with you. I really like Aaron Glenn. I want a new regime, somebody fired up. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that take. And that's just my take. I really feel that if Aaron Glenn doesn't get this job, I think we're gonna make a bad decision. I really do.
Oh, June, I'm gonna give you guys at least a little bit of ease here. Just because you don't get the guy you want doesn't mean you got the wrong guy. And that's a very important message. Philadelphia in 2016, everyone was pounding the table that they hire Hugh Jackson. They wanted Hugh so bad. And they landed with Doug Peterson, some offensive-minded freak with a visor from the Andy Reid tree, never called plays before in his life, but really wanted to do it. And they said, hey, fine. We'll give you a test run. They went 7-9 the first year. No one really knew what happened. And then they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Just because you don't get the top guy you wanted doesn't mean you got the wrong guy.
Can I ask you one more question before I go?
Yeah.
If you were to give an honest, if you were just to say, this is who I think is going to be the next New York Jets head
I think
coach.
It's Glenn. I think Glenn's going. I think he's going to be the head coach. If it was me in that chair, I wouldn't do it. I would hire Brady or McCown. Okay. But I think it's going to be Glenn at the end of the day.
All right. Thank you, sir.
June, nice hat.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, June, the GM. June, do you think he's getting an interview, Nick? He's a GM. Let me ask him. June, are you getting an interview? You have GM in your name. Did the Jets reach out?
Unfortunately, my asking price, they kind of lowballed me. They were throwing a million a year. I wanted 1.5 at least. So no,
They gave you the Pete Alonso offer.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, June, all the love, man. Great call. There's something I need to address. Something very serious happened last night with one of the big-time Asmaniacs, a part of the show. I'm hoping he's out there watching so he could call in and address the latest controversy.
I think the second one, excuse me.
For the second time in about 3 months, Charles Gorman let it absolutely rip on the Gorman Show last night. If you missed the first one, I don't know how you could have. Here was incident 1, Nick, and then you just saw incident 2.
Excuse me.
I don't know where we go from here.
I think the second one, excuse me.
So a lot of people are just up in arms this morning. I stand by my guy Charles' right to rip, but your thoughts on that whole thing?
We're all humans, though, aren't we? We all have to deal with that sometimes. Nothing wrong with it.
Fair point. Fair point. Very controversial, but that's what happened yesterday. Jake writes in, hello, Jake. For one of the giveaways, you should give the winner tickets for an Asmaniac meetup for a Jets game. A little pricey, but would bring in memberships. Go Jets. Jake, I love the idea. We just got to get a schedule first. So I can't buy tickets for games. I don't know when they are. But yeah, we'll definitely do more ticket giveaways. We did, for anyone who was with us a year ago, we did a Super Bowl Squares contest. The grand prize was 2 premium tickets to a Jet game, which St. Nick in our Discord, he took his wife to the Dolphin game, and they had awesome seats. So that was the game they ended up coming to, and hey, they saw a win.
It's a great deal.
Gator says that's why Charles is number 1. No doubt. No, I mean, this is why he's the number 1 ranked Asmaniac. You know, that's what it's all about right there. Anyway, hit the like button if you're tuning in. Let's get to more of your calls right now. Let's say hello to Kyle Clifton, who's up next on our show this morning. Hello, Kyle.
What's going on, Jake? How are you?
What's up?
What's up, Nick?
How you doing?
So I'm kind of resigned to the idea of Newmark and Glenn. I think that Albert Breer is plugged in, and
Resigned to it.
I'm kind of resigned to it. I mean, I'm okay with it.
That's not a bad, and that's the other thing. I think we need to understand here that while my preference would be an offensive-minded guy, you're getting one of the better defensive-minded personnel people in the NFL as your head coach. I mean, this is a born leader. He's got scouting experience, and Newmark has done a remarkable job with Washington. I mean, these are 2 top candidates if you were to hire them.
I don't think they're bad candidates, but as Jake well knows, and you may not know, Nick, I am a Nagy guy. I think he deserves a second chance. And, I also have some interest in Brady. I'm eager to hear what he has to say. I think there would be some interesting pairings that could happen there with him. I am not necessarily a Flores guy. He's on the list. He's a candidate. He's a little bit further down the list for me. But what do we think the timetable is here for the GM hire? Were we talking early next week now?
I think they'll have second round interviews next week. I would hypothesize a hire maybe a week before the Super Bowl, maybe, depending.
All right. That's fair. I appreciate your time, guys.
Appreciate the call as always, Kyle. Good stuff there. Let's see. This comment from Jay Quest. Give me Glenn or Flores. That's it. It feels like a lot of Jet fans are down to the Glenn Flores conversation. And the Jets have put us in that spot, Nick. They're not talking to McCarthy. They haven't spoken to Carroll. Haven't spoken to Gruden. You know, they haven't spoken to Liam Cohen. They haven't spoken to Todd Monken. You know, they haven't even spoken to, you know, if you're going to talk to all these guys with previous coaching experience, they haven't spoken to Cliff, which tells me that some of these guys must have said they're not interested, because I can't understand how you've cast this wide of a net and not talk to some of the top guys.
I think that's part of it. I also think that they ran a thorough search. When was it, 2019, when they hired Adam Gase. And for someone like Mike McCarthy, he lost out on that. Like, it was between him and Adam Gase. They chose Adam Gase. He can probably look at that and say, yeah, I'm not going back here. I interviewed. I gave you the opportunity. You didn't hire me. I'm not just going to help you out now. I think that could also be the case with Todd Monken as well. Again, these coaches are still in their playoff preparations, and just because the Jets haven't requested an interview doesn't mean they won't in the future. Things can change. I mean, you look, the Indianapolis Colts in 2017, they were going to hire Josh McDaniels, and everything was wrapped up into a little bow, and then McDaniels spurned them and said, actually, I'm going to go back to New England, and they had to sort of start the interview all over again. They ended up hiring Frank Reich. So I think there's clear evidence that says maybe they want a different style of coach. Maybe some of them have turned them down like Ben Johnson has, but by and large, I think they want a certain caliber of head coach, and they just want to see what that looks like. They have notes on McCarthy. They have notes on Monken. Maybe they haven't been impressed or really haven't sort of moved the needle on them wanting to be a head coach again 5 years later.
We can officially close the door on one Jet candidate. Brian Greasy, according to Brian Costello, declined his interview request. So the quarterback coach for the Niners is off the board.
And I think he was probably going to be a long shot to begin with. I think he's probably a candidate to be the OC soon for San Francisco anyway. But if you're looking for a quarterback coach to turn into a head coach, I'm taking McCown over Greasy. He actually has been involved in the Jets organization.
I would too. Yep.
And it's just one of those things where, okay, great, fine. I'd rather McCown anyway.
Anyone who's got a previous relationship with the ownership group is going to have the leg up because that's such an important part of all this. You got to not only be a good coach, but you got to be good with people and good with the Johnson brothers.
But again, the other piece of that is you got to be good in New York and the New York media and the fans. This is a very demanding fan base. Greasy played in Tampa. He played for obviously a bunch of places, but by and large, his main stop was in Tampa. He's been with San Francisco. Now, the 49ers fan base is pretty demanding to begin with, but it's not on par with New York fans. I look at that and say, well, I want a quarterback who knows what he's walking into. I want a coach who knows what he's walking into. Robert Saleh, to me, kind of just didn't really understand that, really struggled with it at the beginning. He wasn't the same fiery guy that he was with the 49ers. McCown can easily transition into that role because he's been here. He's won here. He's been able to work here pretty well. So I just look at a guy that understands what he's doing and what the demands are in a city like this.
Peter Castro says Flores 100%. Peter Castro might riot outside the Jet facility if they don't hire Brian Flores. That's how badly he wants him.
Who's the one that – it was Peter the one that I went into the Rumble with last week?
Probably.
Again, I'm going to say the same exact thing that I have said before. If you want Flores and they end up hiring him, great. The most important position for him is going to be finding the right offensive play caller to develop a young quarterback or develop quarterbacks in general. If he's going to bring in Josh McCown, to me, it makes no sense to just have McCown for a year or two and then for him to leave for a head coaching job. Skip the step, hire McCown as a head coach and move forward. If that's what you want in terms of Flores, you can get a great defensive coach like Brian Flores on the team to run the defense, and you won't lose him to a head coaching job. That's just the way it is.
Dave writes in, if you could get Glenn and Brady working together, that would seem like a win. Well, there's no way Joe Brady would ever leave to not be a head coach.
And the other thing is this, the Lions, if you're going to hire Aaron Glenn to be the defensive coordinator, the Lions can block that move. They can simply say, no, screw you. He's our DC. You should have made him a head coach if that was the case. Same thing with the Bills. If you're going to hire Aaron Glenn as the head coach, but you want Joe Brady to run the offense, the Bills can block you and say, he's our play caller. You need to make him a head coach if you wanted him on your roster.
500 of you are in here. Only 147 of you have liked the video, according to Rich. He's a committee member. He's keeping eyes on who's liking videos and who's not. Plus, no one's gifted a membership yet, so if you want it on the raffle, you got a few shows left to be a part of it. Signed Garrett Wilson helmet, signed Joe Klecko jersey, Super Bowl III replica ring, our top 3 giveaways. Comments, questions, super chats. Always cut the line around here. Curly writes in, the Jets are definitely in position to take a risk here. It's only been a 14-year drought.
Again, I think the best way to put it is if you want an experienced coach, you kind of know what you're walking into. You know what the concerns are. You know what sort of their mantra has been, whether it's McCarthy, Tomlin, Flores, any of these guys. The ceiling could be a certain point. You may not have as high a ceiling with some of these experienced guys because you know what the ceiling is with them at other programs. If you're looking at some of these young guys, Joe Brady's, other offensive or defensive-minded coaches who haven't been in that situation, you are gambling, but the gamble is that you have a higher ceiling than some of these other veteran coaches. And to me, I would rather gamble every single time and lose than just sit there and say, okay, I'll take my $10 winnings and make the playoffs every year. And we're never really true contenders, but as long as we're making the playoffs and being respectable, that's all that matters.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Kent just came through for the people like you knew he would.
I think the second one, excuse me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Kent, 5 memberships. Travis Preheim, Miguel Valentin, Bobby Beasley, that's Beastbreaker's nemesis, and Brian all received channel memberships courtesy of Rick Kent. That's 5 raffle entries for Rick. Man with a Rake has gifted a channel membership. It's just $5, by the way, to gift 1 membership and be in the raffle. Boom. Man with a Rake, your channel membership went to Sir Vesa 281. Congratulations, Sir Vesa. Dave wants to know, did Charles check his undies? I don't have that information right now. I'll have to ask him for you, Dave. Tom Ace writes in, Charles will fart his way to the Asmaniac Championship. He might. I mean, this bracket is going to be insane, but the more I think about it, Gorman just provides too many electric moments. I feel like he's going to end up being the number 1 overall seed. I'm not on the committee, so these are just my opinions, not the committee's opinion. But I could see Gorman being not only just a 1 seed, but the number 1 overall seed. Nick, your thoughts?
I don't know. I have absolutely no thoughts. I'm left speechless again.
Franklin checks in with a super chat here. It's an Asmaniac super chat. When you become a member, you get a free super chat every month and a different badge next to your name as you level up. So thank you, Franklin. I can't take it no more, Jake. Offensive guys have to have defense too, and we need a leader, not an OC. Well, I think that's the biggest thing. I think no matter who they hire, they still need a coach that could be a coach for the whole team, be a leader, hold guys accountable, set the culture, hire a good staff. Sure, you'd prefer offense, just the way the NFL's going, but there's other ways to do it too.
Well, I have to point out that of the last 20 years, 25 years, the Jets have hired 1 offensive-minded coach. Everyone else has been defense. And the 1 offensive guy, in my opinion, should never have been offered that position in general because he wasn't that successful in his first stop. So to me, if you want to focus on he needs to be a leader of men, you can be a leader of men and still only focus on the offense. I mean, that works with Nick Sirianni really, really well. It works with other offensive-minded guys like Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. It's worked with them really, really well because they essentially give full autonomy to a top defensive candidate, and they let the DC guy run the show. And it works well for them. They've won Super Bowls that way. In fact, over the last few years, you've seen that at least a little bit more successful than in previous years. So to simply sit there and say you need a leader of men, that's a cop-out. That's what it is. It's a cop-out. Of course you're hiring a leader of men. But do you want the leader of men to focus on the offense and put up points and develop quarterbacks? Or do you want the leader of men to focus on the defensive side? Because you're getting one of those two. It's just a matter of which one you would prefer.
Birkin-nader 47 writes in 5 raffle entries for Birkin, by the way. The only stones the Jets have turned is my uncle's kidney stones the last decade plus. Get it right. Bang! Nick, your thoughts on Birkin-nader's uncle's kidney stones?
I have no thoughts on that, but listen, people are going to complain and critique and go over this entire Jets process, but it's not going to matter if they get the hiring right. It's just not. If they hire Aaron Glenn and they make it to the playoffs in year 1, they win a playoff game, no one's going to give a crap if they interview 20 other candidates. They're just going to matter that it got the hiring right. So to me, it's just everyone's going to be up in arms about this entire process. It's just a matter of getting the hiring right in the first place.
Kyle Clifton says it's Chiefs fan. There's no one that loves Chiefs fan more than Kyle Clifton. It's astonishing. He hates Beastbreaker, but loves Chiefs fan.
I have no idea who Chiefs fan is, so I apologize.
You don't know who Chiefs fan is?
I don't think.
You haven't taken. Have I not introduced you to?
I don't think so. I'm really bad with names, so I'm sure if I see his face.
It's Chiefs fan.
Guess what? I'm still looking for a job, bitches.
It's Chiefs fan.
I'm just going to rub my hands together all day.
It's Chiefs fan.
There's a whole lot of DNA on this couch.
Let's hear it for Chiefs fan.
Look, it's my dead neighbor that I didn't kill.
Yo, what up? I guess, yeah, I've been on the show a few before. I know a lot of people want Josh McCown. You want Josh McCown if the dream works, but I'm really wanting you guys to get Glenn. I know you got so many I know you had Salah, but I think Glenn could put his foot up a few of your players' asses and get them back together because your defense last year and the trade that you made to get rid of one of your best players for what was it, a third or fourth round pick, Jake?
For Reddick?
No, you gave up one of your players before the season.
John Franklin Myers.
Oh, JFM.
Yeah, JFM.
They traded him during the draft, and it was a disaster.
Yeah, like he's a really good defensive coach. He's working with bare bones, and now he's getting all his players back. Just like my team's getting back offensive pieces, he's getting back defensive pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Aaron Glenn would be perfect.
Now, Cheats fan, what are your thoughts on just the state of affairs in the world right now? Give Nick a little feel for what's on your mind.
We talking last night, or we talking about what else?
Well, why don't we start with this? After you left the show last night, what was on the itinerary for Cheats fan?
After that N-bomb dropped, I'm like, I was supposed to stay. I made a resolution to not do any weed cookies for a month.
Mm-hmm.
Walked over to my friend's place, who makes edibles for his wife since she's disabled. Walked over there, grabbed one of the weed cookies. He's a therapist for a group home, which is an hour away from us. And I'm like, I wouldn't grab one. I was going to sit down and talk to him. And I just came home. Instead of eating one of those healthy one choice meals, I ate 2 healthy one choice meals and half a thing of Planters peanuts. Because that's how far I was baked. It's better than stuffing down a whole pizza when you're baked, though.
Nick, your thoughts on that?
I mean, I agree with that mindset. I wish I wasn't. I wish I was more health conscious. I wish.
Ever since I decided to start losing weight, and I know I shouldn't be having pizza and bacon, but I still do. I've been feeling a lot better. I'm less groggy. Only put on 3 pounds during this winter. The other winters, I would put on 25 pounds. But well, I gotta say this. I really, really want you guys to get Aaron Glenn. But if you get Josh McCown, and could you imagine a player / staff member finally giving you your first ring since Joe Namath? That's all.
Now, Chiefs fan, before you go, give us your last. I don't want to do the whole thing because we'll be here for 7 hours. But give us your last 3 jobs to Nick. All right.
Shit. It was the phone healthline thing, but my first day in there, people kept on, just Karen and her kid kept on yelling the N-word, so I snapped on them. I basically told them to drink bleach and skydive off the Seeker's Tower, no parachute.
Naturally.
I believe it was yard work or something. I just can't remember the last 2 because it's been so long. But I would be shoveling snow, but my upper back, a few discs are messed up. So
tell them how much money's in your trust fund.
As math, it should be $12K by the end of this next year. I spent way too much recently on all the stuff.
A lot of drugs and strippers, Nick.
No, Magic the Gathering, Switch, traveling back and forth between North Carolina and family.
Also, Cheats fan, you completely glossed over the lawn mowing job that you didn't want to work because it was raining.
Yeah, I forgot about that. It's been a long time.
And you didn't mention Denny's. No one was better at Denny's than you.
Yeah, Denny's too, my bad. After that incident last night, I was so tilted I only got 4 or 5 hours of sleep.
Don't worry about it, Cheats fan. You had nothing to do with it.
Well, I was thinking that your channel was gonna get axed for a week.
No, we're okay. We're just powering through.
Okay, yeah.
Cheats fan, thank you for calling in and giving Nick a little taste on what you're all about. All right.
All right. Peace.
It's Chiefs fan.
Guess what? I'm still looking for a job, bitches.
It's Chiefs fan.
I'm just going to rub my hands together all day.
It's Chiefs fan.
There's a whole lot of DNA on this couch.
Let's hear it for Chiefs fan.
Look, it's my dead neighbor that I didn't kill.
Nick, your thoughts on Chiefs fan?
Nice guy.
Yep.
Really nice guy.
Makes a lot of good points.
Jake portfolio.
Jake Brain's in the house. Jake Brown is in the house. Our good friend McCown is raved about by everyone. Incredible guy, well respected. My mom was his daughter's math tutor, though, so I'm biased. There's not one person that says something bad about Josh McCown. Like, he's universally praised by everybody.
So I'm glad that you bring that up. Think of it this way. Josh McCown is beloved by Jet fans. He's also beloved by Eagle fans because in 2019, when they won the division and had a playoff game, Carson Wentz had a concussion 4 plays into his playoff debut. McCown comes in and essentially plays balls to the wall, the hardest game he's ever played in his life, with just absolutely incredible work nonstop. And he's beloved by Eagle fans now. People are saying in Philadelphia, if Kellen Moore were to go and get the Cowboys head coaching job, they would welcome back McCown as their play caller and OC with open arms. I mean, he's beloved everywhere he goes. Also, Jake, Hofstra alum, WRHU alum, salute.
Hey, how about that? Let me say this about McCown. And I recognize he's a great dude. I've actually interviewed him before. He didn't have to come on my show when I was, doing an internet-only show in 2018 at Radio Row in Minnesota. I was a nobody, and it was right after he started the 2017 season and did a good job with the Jets, and there was a lot of indecision on what they were going to do at quarterback and draft someone, all that. So he came on. Couldn't have been nicer. Great dude. Here's my issue potentially with McCown, besides the obvious he's only been a coach for 2 years, never been a play caller, all that. He might be too nice. Robert Saleh was too nice. Can Josh McCown be a bit of an asshole, for lack of a better term? He's got to be able to hold guys accountable and not try and be friends with everyone, right? He's got to be able to be a coach. He can't be their friends. I think Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich especially, they wanted to be everyone's friend. They wanted to be buddies with everyone. And while they were well-liked, they got walked over. I feel like McCown might be too nice. Like, can he have a little asshole on him? Because I think that's what they need.
Here's why I don't think that's an issue. McCown's a former player. And more importantly, he's a former quarterback.
Yeah, but so was Ulbrich.
He was a linebacker. Not the same thing. I think the quarterback position, the demands of the quarterback position require you to not just be well-liked, but to understand that there is a system and a style of play that you need to follow up with. Not saying that Jeff Ulbricht's position, not saying the linebacker position is not important. It is for the defense. But for the quarterback position, you need to have everyone on the same page. It's a far more volatile position, a far more demanding position from the very beginning of practices to the very end of the regular season. So I think there's a vast difference between him being a well-liked quarterback and a well-liked head coach. But at the same point, he's well-respected as a coach right now, not just as a former player, as a coach. And I think that's a distinction that's going to help him in this interview process. We have to remember, the Texans were very, very close to hiring him. They really wanted him to be their head coach when they hired David Culley, because the NFL had to step in and essentially say, he's got no coaching experience. You cannot hire him right now. This is a terrible.
Flores was suing them too. That was what shut that down, because I was in Houston when all that was happening. They were going to hire McCown, and powers that be basically said you can't hire him. The optics are terrible.
But think about how well he had to have interviewed for the head coaching role to be considered that highly, where they wanted to screw the NFL and hire him anyway, fresh out of the NFL. That tells me that he understands what is necessary moving forward. He's only going to get better. And that's why I say, hey, instead of waiting a couple years, instead of losing him as an OC, make the hire now.
Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. A few minutes left here with Jets reporter Nick Faria. Burkinator writes in, Chiefs fan seems that miserable now. Imagine if he was a Jets fan. Yikes.
Listen, imagine if Eagle fans had to deal with what the Jets fans have dealt with for the last 3 years. Eagle fans are angry. Think of it this way. Eagle fans are angry because they won a playoff game where the quarterback did not have to throw the ball for very much. 13 of 21, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And the fan base is angry because they didn't win by 30. Speechless.
Must be nice.
Absolutely.
Must be nice. All right, let's talk about the games this weekend, Nick. We'll start with your team. You confident the Eagles?
I'm not predicting shit. Nope, not doing it.
Do they cover?
I think the Rams are going to win. I think they're going to blow us out. I don't think it's going to be close. I want nothing to do with predicting that game. I'm not giving you a score. Not touching it. Won't do it. I will not put my opinion into the world.
Did you buy the book that A.J. Brown was reading on the sideline this week?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's incredible, the story of this entire thing. I also think it's overblown because it sounds like, and there are pictures that show he's been doing this all season. Just because the Fox cameras caught him now doesn't mean it's suddenly an issue.
Your thoughts on the other games, then? We'll start with Texans
I'll
Chiefs.
give you everything else. So I really like the chance of some major upsets on Saturday. I think there's a possibility where both Houston and Washington can walk into hostile environments and win playoff games. I think Houston, they're well coached. Their defense is really good, particularly the defensive line. I think CJ Stroud can win in the shootout. And then with the Commanders, they remind me a lot of what the Baltimore Ravens were like in 2008 when that team walked into Tennessee. Tennessee was considered a juggernaut that year. They won 13 games. They blew out the Steelers. They were just impossible to defeat, except if you were the Brett Favre Jets. I look at where the Commanders are. 5-loss team, much like Baltimore then. Rookie quarterback, much like Baltimore then. A young defensive coach, a young coach with more of a defensive background. I think Washington is more likely to beat Detroit than Houston is Kansas City, but I wouldn't be surprised if upsets in either games.
Your thoughts on the Sunday games, then? Well, we won't talk about your team, but that means there's one other game. AFC, Lamar and the Ravens in Buffalo against Allen and the Bills. The line, I think, is 1 last I checked, so it's expected to be a classic.
And I think you're going to get a classic. I mean, it depends on the weather. I don't like Baltimore if it's going to be snowing nonstop. I do think they have Derrick Henry, which kind of neutralizes that. But it just screams to me like this is Josh Allen's year to do it. He's already beaten Kansas City once. The team around him is really good. The coaching staff's really good. I think this is the year that Josh Allen finally gets to a Super Bowl.
Ugh,
and then flip a coin. I don't care. We're not talking about it. The Rams are going to win. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, you like the Eagles. You just won't say it.
No, won't do it. Won't do it.
You just won't say it. Hector has become a channel member. Hector, you're in the raffle for 1, baby. Yeah. All right. Fantastic. Nick, I appreciate you hopping on. For those who missed the announcement at the top, Nick Faria will be on Fridays now around this time, Friday in the 10 a.m. hour. Faria Fridays, we're calling it. Nick, I appreciate you as always. Thanks for hopping on with us.
Of course. Thanks so much, Jake.
Nick Faria, Jet reporter for Athlon Sports, with us there in his weekly spot on the show. Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line, load up your calls if you want in on the conversation. Yesterday was my brother's birthday, and as is tradition on the show, Bobby Midnight calls in and he sings happy birthday to every Asmaniac whose birthday it is. But unfortunately, Bobby wasn't available yesterday. He was dealing with a family situation, but he has returned to the show. And now, folks, it is time.
Hi, everybody. This is Bob from Vermont. I am Bob, of course.
Hello, Bob.
I'm in a good mood today. I got a heat in the house. Finally took a shower.
All right.
I didn't shave. I got to shave again. I'm getting my haircut on Wednesday, so that's great.
Yeah.
And my daughter's coming home on Sunday. So
all good news.
Yeah, all good news. And I'm ready to sing to your brother.
Let it rip.
What's his name again? I forgot.
Zach.
Zach, yeah. I'm thinking Steve. Okay, this is for you, my friend Zach. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Zach. Happy birthday to you. And I'm sorry it's a day late, but I hope you had a great day. How's that?
My brother wrote, "This is awesome." He loved it.
Well, you're welcome, Zach. You deserve it. You're a good guy like Jake is. Jake's another great guy. Yeah.
Best B-Day since 2011. How about that?
All right. That's good. That was a long time ago, man. Ooh. That was very nice comments you did in the DM. I appreciate it.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to make sure you were doing okay.
No, and then when I take my poop of the day, I'm going to weigh in and then give it to Nick so everybody knows that they are on a week. So,
all right.
I got to go to the bathroom first.
Zach says you're the man, Bob.
You're the man, Zach. You got to come on my show. I offered you to come on my show.
Hold on. Frozen Squirrel said this guy's the worst singer ever.
Okay, Frozen Squirrel, once you get on the channel, let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Frozen Squirrel, I hope you didn't freeze off your nuts this winter so far. I hope you didn't.
I'm with you. And you know what? Hey, Frozen
Okay.
Squirrel. Goodbye.
I'm glad to be in Asman's Shadow Realm.
Into the Shadow Realm you go.
Aaron Rodgers is a glutton for fame. I don't think he loves his teammates. I think he loves attention.
GFY. First word is go, and the last word is yourself.
See you,
Oh,
Squirrel.
there's another person I want you to send to the hole for 24 hours. Finnegan's Flight Crew.
Finnegan's Flight Crew? What did he say?
Yeah. Oh, he said, oh, Bobby's a fake chick fan. I've been a longer fan than you, Finnegan's Flight Crew, and I took a shower today, so pipe yourself down, okay? Just taking a
All I'm seeing from Finnegan's Flight Crew is he wanted me to ask Nick for his opinion on you not showering.
No, Rick saw him putting me down. Rick Kent.
You know what? If Rick Kent saw it, then you know what? Who am I to argue with a legend that is Rick Kent? Hey, Finnegan's Flight Crew, we're sending you to Stupid Town.
Who's that character?
Nick Cage.
Oh, Nicolas Cage. Oh, I didn't recognize him. I've been watching the show. It's like 3 seasons, The Traitors, right? I mean, this is getting crazy this season. Do you ever watch Survivor back in the past?
Not really, no.
Okay, this guy, Rob from Boston, is one of the biggest players on the show. And he got invited to the show, but they didn't want him to go on the show. But they had twists and plots on the, oh my, it's getting crazy in the show.
I see.
Getting crazy. So, yeah, I'm happy that Faria is on for Fridays now. He's a great guy, except he's an Eagle fan, the Smelly Eagles.
I know.
I hope the Rams lose. Agree. I'm praying for the Rams to be just not in that team.
Bobby's Butternut says Bobby's a stinky man who can't sing.
Okay, Bobby's Butternuts. Thank you for the compliment.
Hey, Bobby's Butternuts, you're gone too.
At the beach laughing my ass off. All I have to say is lose out. Clean fucking house and draft Joe Alt. Merry Christmas to all the solid truthers.
I heard the big thing what happened on the second show last night where one of the biggest people using that N-word. It's not going to be good.
Whoa. Calm down here.
Yeah, I know he used the N-word yesterday on the show.
No, we have a no tolerance policy. You can't quote song lyrics and say that word.
Yeah, now that word, no.
No way. No how.
No, he's in the back chat. I saw him. I can't believe you gonna let him out.
No, probably not.
I don't blame you. You don't want to take. I got in trouble for that. You know what? Pick.
I know. No way. You can't do it. You learned your lesson.
I learned my lesson the hard way. No pun intended. Get it?
I see.
You get it?
Yep.
Hard. The hard way.
Mm-hmm.
So yep. Okay, so I'll call in after 4:30 today.
All right, I'm looking forward to that.
You know, okay. I don't want to do something.
All right.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Bobby. You go out there and you capture the dream, okay?
Hey, how was that go? Very happy and lucky.
Well, you know, I need to walk more to survive unless Jake is going live. Gotta elevate my leg on Bobby.
Bobby Midnight, baby. Chiefs fan writes in with an Asmaniac super chat. Happy Pizza Friday. May everyone enjoy the weekend. I'm enjoying myself some Chinese food for lunch. Hi, Bobby. All the love. Chiefs fans dietary consumption is fascinating. I could do a whole episode just on what he eats on a week-by-week, month-by-month basis. No doubt. Let's see. Bobby Salty Nuts wants to know, do you sing in the shower, Bobby? I don't know the answer. I'd imagine he does. That seems like a very Bobby Midnight thing to do. Hey, announcement from Hugo House. They dropped some new hoodies today. I also want to let everyone know that I have a discount code of 20% now. Here's how you can get 20% off instead of 15. You just click the link directly in the description box. So instead of using my code at checkout, click the link in the description box so it automatically takes you to the site, and it's going to give you a 20% discount at checkout now as opposed to the 15%. So new way to save even more money. Get a hat, a hoodie, a winter cap, all of it and more. HugoHouse.com. Use my link in the description box. Also, very on brand for Chiefs fan to say, Happy Pizza Friday, and then talk about eating Chinese food. I'm glad to see that Boomtown was all over it in the comments. God. My brother says that Bobby Midnight has the voice of Fergie and Jesus. Tough to argue with that, huh? Open phone lines if you want in on the conversation. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. A lot of people want in on the conversation. We know the Jets are going to interview Josh McCown today. Same with Brian Flores. I want to go back to about a week ago. I thought this was a really rational and reasoned take from someone who knows the Jets as well as anyone. Connor Rogers, who's on their pre- and post-game show on SNY and is the host of the Badlands podcast. This was Connor with a very detailed breakdown on Josh McCown as a potential dark horse candidate, and we know McCown is at least speaking with the team later today.
But I want to talk about the third candidate that I think is at least interesting for this job, and I think has a better chance than everybody's kind of glossing over him because they tie him to Flores. I think Josh McCown is a real player for this job.
Ooh, McCown Town, baby.
And this is me drawing some conclusions and going off history. When McCown was with the Jets organization, he was loved in the building.
Beloved.
And not the
Absolutely
kind of loved, not just kind of beloved by his teammates, but from ownership down. People felt like he was the kind of presence in an organization that they did not have a lot of over the last couple of years. And that he was perfect for young players. He was great for coaches. He was very easy to talk to from ownership. And just an overall guy that kept the room, almost what we always say about Morgan Moses, but you're an offensive tackle. Like, that reach only extends so far. When you're a quarterback, it does illuminate throughout the entire organization. And that's how McCown's kind of presence was. So what we know, right? You just do the what we know. What we know is there's a lot of, people at the top of the Jets organization that think highly of him. What we also know with McCown is people around the NFL have thought he's going to be a head coach for a long time. They just didn't know when. There was obviously the whole Texans thing a couple years ago. He kind of caught a stroke of bad luck when he was with that Panthers staff. That was a disaster that I don't think that was really his fault, but everybody had to be let go because the head coaching was such a mess over there. And it's almost like he got driven off he got totally driven off the lot. And then you put him on the Minnesota Vikings lot and everyone's like, ooh, Josh McCown. Like, he's been a big voice for Sam Darnold this year. And he has. He's been a big part of this growth for Sam. That relationship goes all the way back to the New York Jets. That is a serious relationship. He is the perfect quarterbacks coach of that organization. Now he's had a year to watch Kevin O'Connell, one of the best offensive minds in the game, call his offense. I'm not saying McCown is the most qualified guy to be head coach, because I know everybody listening to this is going offensive coordinator only. And I get that. In a dream world, I think what we're down to, Flores as the head coach, McCown as his offensive coordinator. I don't know if that would be a lock if you hire Flores. Like, who's to say McCown's like, you know what, we're going to be really good in Minnesota for a while. My stock's only going up. I might be able to jump to a spot as a head coach in the next year as just an offensive staff member. because he's going to be a phenomenal interviewer. Like he's just somebody that so you argue with McCown, right? Like the argument for McCown is he knows the most important position in the game, a position the Jets haven't gotten right in a million years. And that if you're going to be developing the one of the long-term goals of this new regime is to get a franchise quarterback. Well, if the head coach is Josh McCown, like you feel good that you have the right development track for him. So that's number one. Number two, he could lead. Everybody follows Josh McCown. Everybody loves Josh McCown. He's already been a darling with the media here, with ownership here, and with the players in the locker room, which is the most important part. What you don't know, I want to be fair here and balanced. I have no idea if he can call plays, right? He doesn't do that. I have no idea. That's not just because you played quarterback doesn't mean you can call plays. It means you probably have a better chance of being good at it, but it doesn't mean you can do it. So that's a big variable. And then number two, we don't know what McCown's staff would look like. What kind of pull does he have? We truly don't know. Flores has been a head coach before, and Flores is working with a lot of good people in Minnesota, Josh McCown included. So I'm not saying he's more qualified than Aaron Glenn or Brian Flores. That's not what I'm saying. But if you sit in the room, right, if you're the Jets and you go, okay, we like Flores, we like Glenn, we really like Josh McCown. And we think Josh McCown is a year away from being a head coach. If you think that, and you want an offensive guy for your future quarterback, you just hire him. Like that, if it's a year early, well then what if 2 years from now you're like, shit, we should have just hired Josh McCown a year early. Now that team got, how many people probably went through this conversation with a lot of the great offensive coaches around the league? So I understand people listening to this going like, how could you do that? There's so many unknowns. And I get that. But I put aside Glenn and Flores, who are higher than him. And I want to emphasize that over and over again. They are more qualified. There are so many reasons why. But after that, if my choices are Vance Joseph, Arthur Smith, Rex Ryan, Ron Rivera, Darren Rizzi, Bobby Sloak, who had an awful year in Houston, awful year.
What are we doing here?
Wouldn't I rather swing for the upside with McCown where there actually is a floor? Because when shit hits the fan, McCown's actually the type of presence that can level things out. We don't know if his offense will be all it needs to be. We don't know what the staff will look like, and they do before making that hire. But I want to know your thought. Like, I think he is the dark horse of this long, long list. Once we stop having the constant and very fair and deserving Flores and Glenn conversation.
We know that McCown's interviewing today, so he'll get a chance, as Connor was saying on that clip there from Badlands, to potentially win the Jets over. We'll see. I feel like it could truly come down to Glenn, Flores, McCown for the Jets. There'll probably be another finalist we don't like Matt Nagy. And they'll point to his offensive background and previous head coaching experience as to why. Feels like that could be like a more likely outcomes, but you never know. It's the Jets. No one thought they were going to hire Adam Gase, and, well, they hired Adam Gase. That happened. Seems like the chat is going up and in on BMAC. BMAC, why don't you call in and explain yourself, but try from your phone because your Wi-Fi is dog crap. All right, I'm seeing a lot of comments here directed at BMAC. Comments, questions, super chats. Cut the line. Reminder, the show is available in podcast form, Apple or Spotify. Just search The Jake Asman Show, and you will find it, and you'll be able to listen back to anything you might have missed. Let's say hello right now on the hotline to one of the greats, a member of the esteemed 4% female demographic. Leanie in North Carolina is up next. What's up, Leanie?
Nothing. Hi, Jake. How are you?
I'm good, Leanie. How's it going?
Good, good. Hi, Asmaniacs. I hope everyone's doing well. I didn't see the show from the beginning, but just like reading the chats and listening to Nick. And seriously, this is the first time that I have no idea who the Jets should hire, who they're going to be able to, get someone in there that can turn this organization around. This is the first time. I always have like, oh, I want this guy. Oh, I want that guy. I have no clue. Aaron Rodgers couldn't turn this around.
Nope.
So I'm just not really sure. I'm just praying and fingers crossed, everything is crossed that the football gods will just be kind to us for the first time ever. and just let the Jets finally hire the right GM, the right head coach, and then the head coach just get all his hires for his staff correct. We can't do this anymore. This season really broke me.
Broke a lot of people.
But-
Yeah, it just, they've spoken with some good candidates. They
Yes.
have. You don't know though. I don't know if you saw the show the other day. I played what I said when they hired Saleh, and I was describing Aaron Glenn to a T. And it's like, you don't know. That doesn't mean that Glenn won't be better, but you never know. Like Saleh was the number 1 candidate 4 years ago. They got him, and it didn't work.
Exactly. That's why, like in 2019, I wanted Louis Riddick for the GM, and I wanted Kingsbury for the head coach. I just wanted, he was young and hungry, and that's what I wanted. And then, but whatever. But now this, I have no clue. I really don't. And I'm just, like I said, praying, hoping that we all will be blessed finally, and everything will get turned around in a few years. And we'll be talking about who the Jets are going to beat in the playoffs going forward. So, but I wanted to say hi and to everybody. Bobby, I'm glad your daughter's feeling better. And thanks, guys.
Leanie, call in more. We need more Leanie calls. They're always great.
Thanks, Jake. You know I love you.
Leanie in North Carolina. One of the greats. So glad I finally get to meet Leanie this year at the Asmaniac Texans game. Alan says the list is mediocre. Glenn is the best of that list. The GM list, I think, is very good. The coaching list is all right. But they have talked, they have Glenn and Flores on the list. I went into this with Rabel 1, Flores 2. Now I'm more open to Glenn. Glenn has certainly grown on me. BMAC says, I'm the bad guy now. Are you calling in, Bernard? What's the deal here? I don't have time for this nonsense anymore. All right? We got to address your controversy once and for all. King of Kings says, Leanie's my favorite. I sat next to her and her husband at the Halloween game and also shared edibles with him. What a night. Was I supposed to out Leanie's husband for doing edibles? I don't know, but we just did. J-Quest says, BMAC, bye. Get lost. Bobby Midnight, BMAC, you have a big mouth boy. Jake says, BMAC, you're the king of heels. Unbelievable. Peter Castro, BMAC, Jet Fraud. Dave says, we don't want him here. It's enough. BMAC, I'd call in. Fast. You got to try and explain yourself. Alan writes in, BMAC, you're simply a douchebag. Calling you a bad guy doesn't fit the bill. Wow. BMAC has officially lost everybody. Birkin says, Jake, use my super chats to donate to BMAC to fix his Wi-Fi. He wouldn't even know how to do that. I tried to send BMAC won one of our raffles, and I tried to send him a hat for a month, and all he had to do was just send me his address to send a hat, and he never did. Never did. Couldn't even send me an email. So, I can't. What's that saying about leading a horse to the water? Can't do it. Can't have it. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. If you missed it earlier, we did address the controversy that happened on last night's show. Ladies and gentlemen, I couldn't believe it, but this is a real thing that did happen with one of the Asmaniacs.
I think the second one, excuse me.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Sco says, send me his hat. Maybe I will, Sco. Maybe I will. Dave writes in, BMAC has no more defenders. Go away to your Packers community. You're a bum. Who does Dave Briga dislike more, BMAC or Beastbreaker? That's the question. Unbelievable. Wow, I can't believe what just happened. I can't believe what I'm looking at. This guy hasn't called it in a long time. The Jets season might have actually killed him. That's how long it's been. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us right now on the Gusbuster Hotline is Dre out of the office. Hello, Dre.
How you doing, Jake? Hey, listen, I missed you guys.
Where have you been, Dre?
I gotta say, yeah, definitely have to agree with Leany. Seeing Leany made me want to call in because I'm so out of the loop. I don't even see like the candidates. I'm like, I don't even know who's good anymore. And I remember all the topic. I remember the conversations you had. I actually went back when Salah was the candidate and he was the number one candidate and everything that we did. And it's like now this kind of I remember Aaron Glenn. You know, I was a fan of his when we played, and he was like a shutdown corner back in the day. But it was like, you know, it's a defensive HUD coach, you know, and all this other stuff. And I'm just hopeful that, you know, we get the right pick. We have people helping Woody, and I'm just hopeful. I don't know what the right pick is, so I have nothing to offer and say, oh, we should have gone this way, that way. I'm not going to go that far, but I'm confident that hopefully we can just find, if we can find somebody, we can get somebody to gel, hold people accountable, change the culture of this team, and go forward from there. Maybe we have a chance. But I am no longer standing on an island. I'm no longer like, oh yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, because every single one of the things that I thought was going to happen didn't happen. And I was like, how is this happening? You know, I never foresaw what we ended up doing. And it's like, I mean, Jake, just go back 2 years, and then someone tells you, hey, we're going to add Aaron Rodgers, and he's going to win less games than Zach Wilson. You would have told that person that they were insane and they were like on drugs and they should seek medical assistance immediately.
Not even like just that. Like, they'd win less games with Rodgers, and he would play all 17 games. Like, if you would have told any Jet fan that Rodgers would play 17 games, are the Jets more likely to be 5-12 or 12-5? You would have said 12-5. That's why it's insane.
I would have bet the mortgage on it, and right now I'd be homeless because I bet the mortgage on Aaron Rodgers, and he just let me down. And never once, I never felt that I got the sense that he was like, well, we're trying to do this, we got it wrong, but we're gonna huddle, we're gonna come together, and we're gonna make this right. We're gonna get this right. And it's like, it seemed as if like everything that he was about and everything that he was gonna do, it didn't work. And then why? Oh, well, it was this person's fault or this other person. And I'm like, nah, you know what? You have to lead. If to be a true leader, you have to start with accountability. Hey, this is what I'm bringing to the table. And it's my responsibility to get these guys on the right page. Wrong, whoever the fault is, it's my job to get them on the right page. So if that person was not on the right page, that's my fault. You know, we never seem to have that.
I mean, he played well enough for them to win 5 games.
He did. He definitely did.
The defense, the coaching, which led to the defensive demise, the roster construction. I mean, Douglas destroyed the D-line with his moves. Hassan Reddick, I mean, you had the same amount of full sacks he had. Like it's more than just Rodgers, man. Like that's part of the issue too. It's the kicker cost him how many games at the beginning. So Rodgers is certainly not blameless, but you look at his numbers, man. You got the touchdown number right. You just got the wrong Jet. You said Garrett would have 28. Rodgers threw 28.
Yeah, and I thought Rodgers was gonna we were gonna challenge records because Garrett having 28, that didn't mean that was all of them, that they were gonna get spread around, you know. But I still feel like we definitely have enough talent on this team to compete. That's not a question, I think. But going forward, I think what we need to just do is now, here's where the leadership comes in. Here's where culture comes in. And we need to find that right fit. Now, I will be honest, I really wasn't that, like you, I wasn't that excited over Glenn, you know, seeing as all the other options that were on the table. But now I have to say, you know, I think the key thing is going to be, you know, what GM is he paired with and who do we hire first? Are we hiring the head coach first or are we hiring the GM? And then the GM's coming, hey, look, here's our list of candidates. Here's what we like. Who do you work well with? And make sure that we get the right fit for this team going forward.
We're going to find out.
Yeah, we definitely will.
We're gonna see.
And just so everybody, I will say this: regardless of the product that the Jets put out on the field, I want to speak a little bit about the product that the Mr. Jake Asman puts out on the field. And whenever we go to an event, I'm excited to hear more about this Knicks thing, though, because the Asmaniac events have always been top tier, and I've always had the best time. That Texans game, I had more fun at that game. I had more memories at that game than I did at any other game I've ever been to. And I was at the Bills upset win back when we had Zach and Brees Hall was a rookie, Garrett was a rookie, and all of that. And the Texans game was just like the best. It had the greatest moment. We had that moment where that person all the way up in the front started screaming, "Dre, he's gonna die!" And like the whole crowd erupted. I mean, just having that whole section, like you really put on the best events for this fan base, and this team does not deserve us. But Jake, you deserve the Asmaniacs. I like to say that.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Dre. That was a fun night. They actually won that night too. It was a crazy. And honestly, Garrett Wilson, your guy, that was the moment of the season. He had 2 catches. The second one is an all-time great catch. So go down in NFL history. I mean, at least you got to see that in person.
Very true. Very true. And to the faithful, just. It's hard to keep on hope, but we've been doing this for 40 something odd years. And, maybe the Jets are never going to have their true moment of greatness like we all deserve them to have. But I have hope that one day we'll get there. And just, to the other Asmaniacs that kind of like just were broken like I was, you know what? It's okay. Sometimes you got to break to get stronger, and then you just come back stronger.
Well, Dre, stay on the line because I have to play something, and we're going to go full circle here with this call.
Is Brock Purdy going to run for his life on the opener? Yeah! He's going to die. Let's go. J-E-T-S, Jets, Jets, Jets. Let's go.
There he is. The Dre Meister.
Well, we had hope. Brock Purdy running for his life.
Yep. That's what we would have win that game, too.
The Mambo King. It's the Mambo King, Dre.
How's it going, Brother Neil? How you doing?
Good. How you feeling? Well, I haven't heard from you in a while.
I got to tell you, health is at an all-time high. Like, I feel really good. The heart's good and strong. But you know what? I have a lot of work to go through. I gained a little extra weight that I don't want. And I'm working on getting that straightened up. But I'm going to focus. 25 is all about health because I'm trying to stay alive at 25.
Listen, you got 1 or 2 things you could do for your weight. What did you do? You put on a lot of weight?
A little extra pounds, but I'm in a solid, good relationship right now. So you know how they say, like when you've got a good partner and you're building something, solid and great. That you put on that's a happy weight. You're eating out a lot more and things like that. So I'm just trying to even that out and get myself.
1 or 2 things you could do. Take it from a guy who's kept 100 pounds off for 16 years. Okay, you either get yourself a lap band like me and Rexy Sexy. All right. Dr. Fielding is the guy that performed the lap band on him and I.
Mm-hmm.
Or the easier route is, you jab yourself with this, with
the Ozempic.
There's a new one they got, it's like 90% less, or it's pretty cheap. And it tricks your brain into thinking you're full. And I don't think there's many side effects that are that bad with it. I mean, the side effect of being 50 pounds overweight is you could drop that any time going up a flight of stairs. So the bottom line is, whatever risk there is to you being overweight is far greater than the risk of you taking these different drugs. And this one seems to be working real. Don't you smile over there, Jake, you skinny bastard.
I'm just laughing. I'm laughing at Nate's comment. Is eating healthier not an option?
No, hey, I thought I'm glad he didn't say butter. I'm glad he wasn't talking about eating a stick of butter.
Listen, Dre, it's not about the healthy eating. I could eat a healthy salad, but when you put, a pound of Russian dressing on it and make it the way you want to eat it, it really doesn't help you.
No, it doesn't.
The reality is you have to do what it takes to get the weight off. Take the Ozempic, jab yourself once a week or whatever the hell it is, and it'll make you eat less and you'll drop the weight. It's simple as that. I mean, don't try to, because when you make yourself healthy, you're depriving yourself, and eventually you're going to give into that. When you start watching the Jets lose next year, you're going to say, son of a bitch, you're going to start eating again, and all of a sudden the weight's going to find you all over again.
Yeah, I'm going to eat my feelings. I'm sure.
We're in a vicious cycle of feelings. We have bad feelings, and they repeat themselves year after year after year. And now we're pinning our. But one thing I will never lose is my hope and my optimism that we're going to one day walk down the Canyon of Heroes, and I'll be leading the charge down that canyon, baby. There's nobody, me and Fireman Ed and all the real long time suffering Jet fans, Joe B, me, Staten Island there. What's his name? Ira. We are the long suffering.
Oh, yeah, the dream season we've been waiting for is happening.
I put that right in Drake May, and we won that game. So I want to tell you, that was a winning game. That was the day we won, Jake, right?
It was.
Yeah.
That was the highlight of the Aaron Rodgers era. We didn't know it at the time, but it was.
But Dre, stop to Aaron Rodgers is very little to do with the pain we endured this year. He had some to do with it, but he was not the culprit here. The culprit was.
I hope you understand. I don't really think that Rodgers is the reason why. My father believes that, but I was hopeful with Rodgers, and it's just that I wish I could have seen him kind of take more of a lead to more of a like what we wanted from Salah, that he was kind of like, oh no, let's not be, he never really wanted to look, this guy, I'm gonna get him right, kind of bring the hammer down. I kind of wanted him to be a little bit tougher, but that's just not his. Just like with Salah, that's not his style.
Right. I just heard from they had an interview with the punter with Morstead, and he basically said, he talked about Greg the Leg and how he believes he's still a top, he's got the top 5 leg in the league. And, the Denver game, he made a good contact with the kick, but it was just a little off to the left and the wind blew it. And it's this, it's that. This is a game of inches, and the reality is we were snake bit this year with a 2-5 record in games we had the lead into the fourth quarter. Look, a lot of teams ended up, Kansas City, for example, could have been just as bad in that situation. They could have been just as bad. It's just that, the kicks went right for them. The lead stayed strong, and we just put ourselves in a deficiency, which put us in the hole we ended up in. Like we all said all season long. We could have easily had 5 or 6 more wins. Not easily, but if things turned out right, if we didn't win the coin toss, if we didn't do this, if we didn't do that, all these little things added up to a shitty season. And the reality is, with a good head coach and good leadership, we could turn it around next year and be winning those games that we're losing this year. It's not like we don't have.
You hope they're the Chargers. You hope they're the Broncos.
Right.
Be positive.
God, and the Chargers had a crappy roster, and they just still did it because they had the right leadership. Now, switching to that, Jake, I'm not sold on Aaron Glenn. I got to tell you.
What do you want, Neil? You Flores guy?
I want McCarthy. How about that?
I agree, but they're not going to even talking to him. So
I know. I just don't get it. I don't get it. We all know that we want experience, and the reality is, look, when you look at Rex, he's a rabble rouser and all that, but he's been out of the league. Like you said yesterday, Jake. McCarthy's won 12 games. What, 3 years? The guy's a winner.
He always wins games. Like he might not have the highest ceiling of coaches because he only has that one Super Bowl, but like the guy's floor is better than anything we've seen as Jet fans. Like
right.
To me,
he was with Dallas. I mean, he's worked with Jerry Jones in a media that's just as intense as ours. He's got an owner that was up his ass. You know, Woody is not going to be like that with him. And he has Aaron Rodgers, and he could just plug and play, and let's go one more year and see what happens. I don't want to go backwards. I just don't want to go backwards. I don't want to try another new coach who doesn't have the experience in the head coaching realm. I don't want to do that. I just don't want. I mean, it can end up well for us with Aaron Glenn. And look, he has a lot of leadership qualities. There's no question about it. But he has not been behind the wheel of being a coach. When you get into that wheel, you could be the best defensive coordinator. We found that out so many goddamn times. The best offensive coordinator, head coach is a different position. It's different. And, you know, I'd rather have an experienced head coach that could plug and play the right OC and the right DC. And let's get these guys bought in. Get the right thing going, get the GM to pick the right players, and let's roll. Because we have a lot
Neil,
of
do you feel confident that McCarthy could put together the right staff and everything like that?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Here's the other negative I have with Aaron Glenn. He's competing with the OC. If he gets a head coaching job, they're going to be trying to compete to get the same staff members out of Detroit, and that gives me pause because who's his staff going to be, Jake? You know, that's a pause.
I mean, we don't know, but the guy's been around football for his whole life. He's coached with other teams besides just the Lions. You know, you have to trust that, that he has a plan. Look, I prefer Flores too, but Glenn has certainly grown on me. And look, if they're not going to talk to McCarthy, like, Aaron Glenn makes a lot of sense. Did you see his answer the other day that I played on the show?
Yes, I did. I see everything. I see all.
But you know, look, there's a risk in anyone they hire. I completely agree with your point on experience, but of the other guys, like give me Aaron Glenn over Matt Nagy or Arthur Smith, for example.
I mean, if we have to settle, again, I don't really believe that we need to settle at this point. You know, everybody says nobody wants to play for the Jets. You know, come on, bullshit. We got the checkbook. We have the team. We have a lot of pieces in place. And if I'm a head coach with experience, the Jets are a great spot to step in and win now. You're not winning now with the Saints. You're not winning now with the Giants. You're not winning now even with Dallas. They have a lot of holes. Right now, you could step in, and if you analyze the season as a coach, you see that we were this far away from winning a lot of these games that we lost, and the result of those losses lays mainly on the coaching, in my opinion, and mistakes made by Douglas in depleting his roster on the defensive line and not making the changes necessary mid-season or mid-game. You know, why we had to watch Clemens come out every single game, and we knew he stunk. Get him out of the rotation. You know, Reddick wasn't doing a job. Get him out of the rotation. Bring in some new guys. Plug and play some things. Make some changes at the trade deadline. We let Quentin Jefferson go to another team. All these stupid things we did for 2 consecutive years, I think, made a big difference in us making a push, to get more wins on the board. We didn't make the changes and the adjustments necessary, and that's all leadership. And I want a leader. I don't want an experiment. We've been experimenting so many goddamn years, and I'm tired of it.
What a call from Neil and Dre. I appreciate your return to the show. We need more of you, Dre, and I'm going to play you out. The only way that, look, let's be real, the only way that I possibly could with a rip-roaring rendition of He's Gonna Die.
He's gonna die.
Thank you very much, Trey. Great call. All right, we got time for one last call, and I'm glad this guy called in because we have some controversy to address. By the way, get the membership if you want in on the Klecko jersey. Neil, I'm surprised you didn't gift this. Signed Klecko jersey? You probably already have something Klecko related. That's why. Garrett Wilson helmet. Both will be auctioned next week. And the replica Joe Willie Super Bowl ring. $20 super chat. If you can't gift from your phone, we'll chew 5 memberships. Anyway, we addressed the controversy earlier. We played you the clip of what happened yesterday with one of the Asmaniacs. And this guy has called in to hopefully give us more info.
I think the second one. Excuse me.
Charles Eugene Gorman.
Yeah, baby.
Hey, Jake, I want to introduce you to some of my friends.
All right.
This is Jake Asman. This is part of my community inclusion group, which is part of Project Journey in Hazlitt. And I'm with a very famous country singer, Easy Eddie Z.
Where's he at? What's up, buddy? You know you got the
Easy Eddie, how are you?
What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. You're hanging out with a fellow legend in Charles right now.
They're all in my studio right now.
That's awesome. That's
enjoying
awesome.
the day, playing all the instruments. Yeah, I'm just hanging out. Yep.
Love that.
I wanted to do someone special. Where's Teresa at? Where's Teresa at? Here are the awards that he's won. Do you see him, Jake?
Tremendous. They look like unbelievable awards.
This is him with Kevin Costner. This is him with Willie Nelson.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, this is my behavior. This is one of my favorite mentors. She's like a sister of mine, Teresa Cifelli.
Teresa, how are you? Good to see you.
This is my behaviorist, Teresa. She's a very lovely woman.
Tremendous. Well, Charles, it sounds like you're having an awesome day.
I am. It's really awesome, dude. Anyways, I just want to let you know I just got to 200 subscribers today.
All right. Congratulations. Everyone should be subscribing to the Charles Gorman YouTube channel.
Charles A. Gorman, actually. Anyways, you see in my headline, Aaron Glenn for head coach. My father really wants Aaron Glenn to be the head coach of the Jets soon. I know we can't interview him yet or hire the guy until after the divisional round. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Come on, man. How are you a real person? Now, Charles, did you see the clip I played introducing you? Are you going to address what happened last night on your show?
That I farted? Yeah, stuff happens. I think the second one. Excuse me.
I like that approach. Stuff happens. And what are you eating?
Pizza.
This tournament might be a wrap. Who's beating Gorman in March? I don't know.
I'm having pizza.
I know you are. You also called into a talk show, and now you're eating on the air.
I know. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing okay.
You too, Charles. I'll let you get back to your inclusion group there.
No problem. Just wanted to show you guys some of my friends. Have a good day.
Well, you tell them that me and all the Asmaniacs send our absolute best regards to them, all right?
No problem, man. Thank you.
You got it, Charles.
You'll never get my chicken soup recipe. I'm not saying that Lowski takes steroids. Need some of it. Hey, Charles! Who is that lovely lady? Sing it this way, Charles!
How is Charles not winning this tournament? I don't know, man. I think he's the betting favorite. I'm not on the committee. I recuse myself from that. But wow. Unreal. What we just saw there. Ladies and gentlemen, I knew Neil would get involved once he knew what the prizes were. 10 memberships from our guy Neil, who just called in. He's in the raffle for 10. Sound the alarm. Actually, what am I doing? Gator made this featuring Neil. We got to play it.
Now, give me money. Or I shoot him. And I shoot all you motherfuckers. And then we take it. Your choice, bitches.
Nathan Jones, Mark Lemonyan, Chris Moses, K1, Luis Oriza, Josh G, Joseph Delgado, Matthew Lemke, R&R, Ryan Kaza, all receiving channel memberships from Neil. That's 10 entries for Neil. And just another reminder for those tuning in late, I'm now going to allow people to super chat raffle entries post-show. I don't believe you can gift the membership during a show, but you could super chat after a show on the comments. So if you send a $20 super chat in, you'll get 5 raffle entries. If you send a $50 super chat in, you'll get 10 entries. That's for the Klecko jersey and the Garrett signed helmet and the Joe Willie Super Bowl ring as our top 3 prizes. Oh, Dre's in now for 5 more memberships after he called.
Oh, nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, 5 from Dre before we wrap. Jimbo, TB, Wild Wave, Jets Media. That's our guy Richie, who we referenced earlier. Pittsburgh Mike, great crop of members there at the buzzer. Love that. All right. We're back this afternoon with Boyd Green on the Jet Show. That will be in the 4 o'clock hour. I am hosting the Jake Asman football show at 2 p.m. today. I'll give you guys some thoughts on the games this weekend. Cole and I will make our weekly picks. So we'll preview the divisional round, talk about the latest with the coach search, and much more. Thank you again to everyone for your support. My name is Jake Asman. This has been the Jake Asman Show. Oh, shout out to Richie. He is actually in the chat right now. Make sure you guys subscribe to Jets Media. You guys are awesome. I got to run to a meeting, so we're wrapping here. But thank you all for your daily support. Please click the like button. Please subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Go Jets, everybody.
Jets got to get this offensive line figured out. Because it doesn't matter who we have on the center, because these assholes can't hold the line. I don't mean, the fuck. I think there's a little fire over there. Whoa. Hold on. Oh, Jake, I might need you to call 911. Oh, shit. Oh, Jesus Christ. What the hell's going on here? Oh, my Lord. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh.
Look, guys, I don't know how else to say this. Fact of the matter is the team has almost no chance to win this week unless you click on the like button. Also, be sure you're subscribed to the Jake Asman Show. Let's do this. Go Jets.